Let's take a look at the Aries full moon happening on October 6th, 2025 at 11:48 p.m. Eastern Time. So please keep in mind that for some of you, the full moon could be happening on October 7th in your time zone. This Aries full moon is happening at 14 degrees of Aries in your chart. So you want to identify where you have 14 degrees of Aries by house placement. The house placement is the area of life where you are seeing more within yourself in the light of this full moon. There is peak self-awareness. You might also be recognizing where you're ready to develop more independence, courage, and confidence, which are also Aries qualities. Now, with a full moon, the energy is very bright. So there is something that's been rising up for you to see within yourself since the new moon, which was the Virgo solar eclipse new moon 2 weeks ago, when the sun and the moon were conjunct and the sky was at its darkest. Now, the sky is bright, and you might be sensing and feeling more of who you are, more of what matters to you, the new beginnings you are ready for, the new creations, new adventures that are calling to you, and you could have a new trust in yourself around who you are at this stage in your life. The Aries energy is about self, your self-identity. It is often associated with the energy of me, who I am, who you are. And then it's in opposition to the sun in Libra at 14 degrees, which highlights the other, us, we, partnerships, one-on-one interactions. So with this full moon, we are working with a relationship axis here around who you are and the relationships and connections that see you, understand who you are, where there are healthy connections and right relationship here. But with the full moon, there could be some realizations of how you are new or different. You could come into more awareness around what you want and desire. You might be ready to assert more of yourself and your needs into relationships, partnerships, collaborations. The Aries full moon helps you be more courageous in shining your energy, in strengthening your aura. And that energy would then impact relationships and the right people to connect with, work with, share yourself with. So this can be a time when the Aries full moon reveals what's out of balance, either in yourself or in those dynamics, and offers you an invitation to become more balanced in your truth, the truth of who you are, and if others are willing to meet you there. And of course, it's vice versa. Are you also willing to meet others in the truth of who they are? So this is where you could have new understandings around relationships, which ones matter to you, which ones are quality, strong, and healthy. And then maybe you're realizing where you are out of balance or the relationship isn't good for you because it doesn't recognize who you are, what you need, or what matters to you. You could have some exchanges or conversations that highlight where you're on very different pages with someone. Keep in mind, this can be business partnerships, clients, anyone that you are interacting with. You might also have a realization that you've changed and you want something different. The Aries energy is a beginning point. It initiates new change, new desires to move towards. And then consider how those new desires that you want will affect connections and relationships that you have. And so how do you maintain those connections? right? How do you honor those relationships, especially ones that you've built or developed over time, while also recognizing, but this is what I want now, or this is what matters to me now. So looking at this chart, the sun and the moon are in their opposition, as they are every full moon, once a month, but they aren't aspecting other planets. The sun and the moon are in their own conversation here at 14 degrees of Aries and 14 degrees of Libra. And so there could be something quite specific or personal that comes up for you here between these two houses in your chart. In this example chart, the 4th house and the 10th house, you would identify where you have 14 degrees of Aries and 14 degrees of Libra, as these would be the two houses that you would be understanding who you are now, and then how to bring that out into connections that are important to you. Other than that, the other planets are on their own, doing their own thing and having other conversations. So I want to now go to the ruler of the Aries full moon, which is Mars. Mars is in Scorpio, a sign of his strength. This Mars is passionate, determined, ambitious. This is a Mars who often works behind the scenes and wants to be stealth, which can be secretive and hidden, of course. But this Mars, when he's in his highest intentions, is driven by truth, the truth of what he wants. And he has a lot of strength here to face his fears. I feel that this Mars is on a mission to elevate himself, transform himself, because he's been on the fence about something, and he was previously on the fence when he was in Libra. Now, there is a new emotional charge surging through him. And on the same day as this full moon, this Mercury enters into Scorpio as well. And so we have these two personal planets in Scorpio, adding more depth to what you want, requiring you to face a fear that maybe you've been trying to avoid, or it's only been in your mind. It's only been something that you've been logically or rationally working through. This is now diving into the depths. And I feel that there's some type of declaration here, because the Scorpio energy will say no more. I don't want that anymore. I want to transform this. I don't want to be ruled by my fears or old patterns or old expressions. I want to be more honest because I feel empowered in my truth. I feel empowered by how I really feel. And this is a big influence here with the Aries full moon. So this means you could be realizing things or working through a fear in the background that isn't apparent to others. Libra is how you present yourself socially, what you say, conversation topics you engage in. There can be the social niceties here in Libra. But then you go into Scorpio and you start to really get to, but this is what I truly want. And there can be less focus on what others think, less focus on comparison, because the Libra energy in one of its lower expressions will go into comparison and is meant to see that what you want should be honored. And I'm feeling like there is maybe a rush of energy here or a deeper understanding of where you've been holding yourself back, but maybe projecting it onto others, not wanting to rock the boat, not wanting other people to be upset, not wanting other people to be mad at you. That's a Libra quality. Well, I don't want them to be upset. I don't want them to be angry or pissed at me. So let me just do this, whatever this might be, so that people don't get upset. And now there's a sense of, I can't hold myself back anymore. And both the Mars and Mercury here in Scorpio investigate. They desire a deeper understanding of self. So there is a transformation happening based on what you've realized that you want. And I'm feeling like there's new levels of responsibility here as well. And it doesn't mean that everyone has to know, maybe, but there could be something you're realizing, this is what matters to me at this time. What do I need to move through in order to get there or to do the thing? What fear or what unconscious part of myself do I need to transform? There can be a fearlessness with this energy. When you have the strong Scorpio and the Aries energy, no holes barred. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do the thing. And that might be the surge that you're feeling here. Now we have more energies in the background that are important to make note of. We still have this ongoing minor grand trine with this Pluto retrograde at 1 degrees of Aquarius, sextiling Neptune retrograde at 0 degrees of Aries, and then interacting as well with this Uranus and Gemini at 1 degrees retrograde as well. So all three of these planets are retrograde, but they're in this minor grand trine, and that's going to shift as Uranus will go back into Taurus, and this Neptune goes back into Pisces, 29 degrees of Pisces, October 22nd. So they're still engaged here in a future vision and direction that you're feeling and sensing. That could be part of what is igniting you. Even though the moon is not conjunct Neptune and is not interacting directly with these outer planets, there is still a frequency here that you're feeling around the future and what you're moving towards. And even maybe feeling a new internal commitment to yourself about what that means to you. So the minor grand trine is still in effect here. And this Neptune is at 0 degrees of Aries. This is a world point. And this means that not all is what it seems in the world. We've known that for a while. But there's going to be more that doesn't start until February 2026, when Saturn and Neptune are conjunct here at 0 degrees, 44 minutes of Aries. So we're still in the fog about some things, and we know it, we feel it. We're trying to get a lot of information and understanding around it. But I'm feeling like this Neptune is still important because it is the apex between Pluto and Uranus. It's the apex point. It's pointing the way forward. It creates this cosmic arrow, as I call it, and is moving us ahead into uncharted new territory on the planet. And yet we're just still swimming, processing, and trusting. Another important energy that's happening here, there's actually two. One is this square that is increasing between Jupiter at 23 degrees of Cancer, squaring this Chiron at 25 degrees of Aries retrograde. And so Chiron is moving retrograde. and this Jupiter is direct. They're going to meet up at 23 and 24 degrees of these two cardinal signs. The energy is happening here now. And so Jupiter in Cancer is supporting you in learning from past experiences. What has emotionally shaped you and formed you? Memories, previous events, where you came from. This could certainly be family. This can be things that you thought you were over, and Jupiter brings them up so that you can move through them and gain more wisdom. There's emotional growth here, and that is one of the highest expressions of this Jupiter in Cancer. But the square to Chiron, Chiron, the wounded healer in Aries, is bringing us into deeper contact with the parts of ourselves we need to love and accept more. Where have you pushed away parts of your self-identity? Chiron wants to bring it back, but bring it back with the medicine, the remedy, more self-love and self-acceptance here. And so Chiron has been doing this work in Aries since 2018, and is finishing up his time in Aries and covering this part of your chart here. There's asking you to go into a deeper level of self-awareness around who you really are and what that means towards your self-love and self-esteem. For some people, this could be where you've held off being more independent, or you haven't been clear on your self-identity, or you've had big questions around, who am I now? What do I want now? What matters to me now? And Chiron wants to bring in the answers, but Chiron moves slowly. Healing happens slowly. At times it might happen quickly, and that's what the Aries energy wants, but that's also where the Aries energy can re-injure itself, is moving too fast and being too impatient. So this is a slow moving Chiron in Aries saying, slow it down, slow it down. Let's really feel into this. And so the square from this Jupiter to Chiron brings up some big fears or triggers from the past. And it could bring up something to work through, maybe at a new level of your being, that you gain from it. You learn something in a new light, in a new way. The cardinal signs initiate each season of the year. And so here we have an initiation with these two energies squaring, an initiation into new levels of emotional maturity and personal understanding around what you're changing. I feel that this could be something about you understand who you were and maybe have a deeper connection to who you're becoming or who you are now. I mean, we do have these 3 planets here in Aries spread across the Aries degree points, feeling like maybe you have these 3 different assignments of self that you're working through. So I feel that this square from Jupiter is going to bring up some things, maybe at your emotional core or in the emotional body, that you're ready to see and work through. I also feel, I feel like this, so this Jupiter in Cancer relates to your ancestors and your lineage. And the Aries energy relates to blood in the body. It's almost like, really changing something for your bloodline, for future generations, closing something out or completing something that's been painful, harmful, difficult, that's been very intense. And this is closing out of that. But it continues throughout October, because with this square, there's going to be a cardinal T-square October 16th and 17th, when the sun gets to 23 and 24 degrees of Libra. And then you have the objective, detached, logical awareness of the sun in Libra interacting with this ongoing conversation between Jupiter and Chiron. And so the sun in Libra is saying to step back from your personal experiences, because these are both personal energies, the Aries and the Cancer. And here comes this the sun in Libra that isn't emotional about it and is saying, look at it from this lens. Understand that other people go through this too. And it also brings in, because it's going to be a cardinal T-square, it forces more of that growth, that forward movement to occur. So this energy happens all of October, basically. Jupiter squaring Chiron. Even though it's not exact, they're still only within a few degrees of each other. And then another thing that's happening that also involves this Jupiter in Cancer is that Jupiter is going to have a trine. It'll actually be, I think it's actually in November, but it's happening now. It's starting now. This Jupiter in Cancer trining Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Their almost exact trine is at 25 degrees. And in fact, in November, we're going to have water grand trine energies. There's really deep emotional clearing here. Karmic, spiritual, whatever you needed to take care of responsibly. This is a beautiful energy. Saturn trining Jupiter. I mean, that's things happening in your favor. It's a recognition of how far you've come, what you've worked through, how you've emotionally matured or grown. And then the bounty that shows up that feels good. It's a feel-good energy here. So isn't this interesting? We've been talking about the pain and the trigger of this Chiron squaring Jupiter, but Jupiter is being supported very strongly by Saturn, who's staying the course. You know, Saturn is self-respect, personal dignity, integrity, being clear in what's yours, honoring your responsibilities and commitments. This can be recognition from elders, mentors, parents, those who are older than you. Maybe you are the Saturn figure, maybe you are the elder or the mentor. But this is a beautiful aspect of Saturn trining Jupiter. Long-lasting rewards, beneficial advancements, whatever you've been emotionally processing related to, again, the past, where you've come from, where you've been. This is also an ongoing aspect here in October. It stabilizes. So Saturn trining a planet will stabilize it. This is emotional stability, emotional satisfaction of what you are completing and ending in Pisces. And then as each of these planets, I don't think it's first Mars. It could be first Mercury. As each one gets into range of this Jupiter and this Saturn, there's going to be a water grand trine. I'm seeing it as a phoenix rising in Scorpio, as a deep purging and transformation that happens. So we'll talk more about that as we get further into October. You could feel a strong emotional renewal moving through October into November because of this ongoing trine between Saturn and Jupiter, and then the planets moving into Scorpio and interacting with them. A permanent change. Something is truly energetically and emotionally completing for you. And it's going to change your emotional core. There's a powerful regeneration at play. So keep in mind, whatever this Chiron squaring Jupiter triggers, maybe it triggers something with your younger self. This Jupiter feels it, and then the energy travels to Saturn, which reminds you that you're an adult now, or that you have been through enough things that you know how to own your emotions. And there could be something here where this Saturn is anchoring in more of your intuitive abilities and psychic senses to see what you need to see, and to complete and phase out what's done for you. So we'll keep talking about that, because I do feel that this is one of the bigger unfolding aspects here in October and November. Also have to throw in that this Venus at 21 degrees of Virgo is moving towards a direct opposition to Saturn and then to Neptune. And this Venus in Virgo minimizes. When she opposes Saturn, she gets a no. She gets something that's disappointing. That's not going to happen. It's not going to go how you planned. It's not going to look how you want it to look. And so this part of your chart here, this opposition between Venus and Virgo and Saturn in Pisces, could be showing you something that isn't going to take off or isn't going to lead anywhere. But this Venus is sextiling Jupiter. So on some level, you're okay with it, because it could be like, all right, that's fine. I can just flow with it, move with it. I can let that go. And then this Venus, when we get to the Libra new moon, October 21st, things are different for this Venus. So just keep in mind that the Venus energies here might be stressed a bit after this full moon. But one of the best things about Venus and Virgo is self-care, and to look at what you can do, what you can manage that is good for your energy, and to keep it simple. So as always, thank you for joining me as we go through the chart here of this Aries full moon. I hope it supports you and resonates on some level of your being. And for those of you who have asked, you can still join me for the program that discusses this minor grand trine of what you're manifesting in your life that's starting now and actually lasts into 2029. This is a big deal. So that program is called Manifesting with the Minor Grand Trine, and it helps you identify more of what is coming up for you to work with in this cycle. I will put the link and more info below the video here. As always, thank you for your likes, your subscribes, and sharing. Thank you so much for your comments, and I'll be back soon. And we will keep talking about these big energies of 2025.